Hello, hello. Mic check, check.
Switch this on. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord, be the beginning and end of all that we do and say. Prompt our actions by your grace and complete them with your all-powerful help. We make this prayer through Christ our Lord. Good morning, brothers. So, gentlemen, any questions? Oh, I completed that discussion on the history of moral theology. There are so many things that we did not study than the many things that we studied. But we proceed to another section where we want to look at this Catholic theory of natural law. And as an introduction, I have put there two insights from two philosophers. Right? I want to discuss with you the Catholic theory of natural law and some interconnected issues there. And then, of course, another theory which is proposed also by or supported by some Catholic theologians, but a kind of theory which is not accepted by the mainstream magisterial teaching, that is described as proportionalism, another interpretation of natural law theory. It has existed side by side, this officially accepted theory of natural law, on which much of the Catholic moral teaching is found. But at the same time, this proportionalism invites us to reflect a little how we can actually avoid being too legalistic and too rigid and too physical in our moral judgment and so on. Anyway, these are the questions that we will be discussing here. Important section. You must understand this section somewhat properly so that you can see the rationale behind why the Catholic Church takes up some moral positions, which by and large in the wider world appears to be not acceptable, not in accordance with reason, not forward thinking, rather backward thinking, etc. So there are two insights. First of all, we're discussing about the objectivity of morality. I already mentioned you when I raised that question, what is morality? We saw morality as law emphasizes that morality is not something that we make. Right and wrong are not decided by you or me or the Pope or anyone else or the governments. Right and wrong is out there. We must discover this right and wrong by using our reason, etc. In any given situation, there is something right. This right is not you decide. It's right for us to act in a specific context in a particular way. There is one action which is right, other actions which are wrong. So this is not something you or I decide. We discover this. What is the right action? We discover. Yeah. So when a child and an elderly man are starving, you have only one piece of bread. Both need this for survival, another day's survival. To whom will you give this one? To the child or to the old man? Child. If you give it to the old man, Suppose the child is a stranger, old man is your father, all right. To whom would you give? Still you would give to the child. So he says, is it decided by you? If another person from another culture comes along and he gives to this old man, all right, would you consider that to be a right action or a wrong action? So both are right action, is it? So for you, giving to the child is right, and for him, giving to the father is right. Right? All right. So each one makes his own morality. That's what you're saying, is it? What we are saying, but that's not correct. There are situations when you have to choose. For example, in this case, it's a little complicated, depends upon the relationships, etc. Even here, if the old man is sick and dying, the bread might be better given to the child, all right, because it has a future, etc. But whoever may be doing that, all right, you might still think that this might be a more right action to feed the child rather than sustain a dying man or something. But in the case of an abortion or something, all right, you remember the case of Savita in Ireland? You remember? So 2-3 years ago, there was a nurse who was pregnant, and she suffered from a very rare condition where her blood and the child's blood was in conflict. And if nothing was done, she would surely die. And the child with her, of course. So she approached a Catholic hospital, and they said, we don't perform abortions. All right. Obviously, then she died without medical help. And the child died too. All right. What should have been done? The child should have been aborted, killed, in other words, so that the mother may be saved. You think that would be the right thing to do? Yeah? Killing the child in order to save the mother, that would be the right thing to do? Hensley? So in other words, you can kill an innocent person in order to achieve some good you want, in order to save this woman. Yeah? We can do that. Somebody can kill you in order to achieve some end he wants. But the child is not the cause of. Child is innocent. But child is not personally responsible. You can't hold him accountable for this. It's a condition. First of all, the child didn't invite himself. It's the mother who caused the child. Go for what? Yeah. That's right. That's right. But this child, now you bring the child into this world, you conceive it, and now, of course, you kill it because it becomes inconvenient to you. Endangers your life. And so you can dispose it of. That's what you're saying. Yeah. So suppose you become inconvenient to another. All right. You can dispose you of. Do you remember the words of Caiaphas, said of Jesus? It is better for a man to die than for a whole nation to perish. This is the argument you are making now. Right? So this is the problem. This is where, the crux of the moral problem lies here. All right. It's not an easy thing to solve, to say one view is correct, another view is wrong. But I propose here the Catholic rationale for taking a stance. In such a case, the Catholic Church would say, this is a situation of right and wrong. All right. If you cross the barrier and kill the child, we are going on a slippery ground. We are taking a moral position that would be very slippery. For the sake of an object, we can directly do evil. That's what you are saying. You can kill. Killing an infant, an innocent infant, can never ever be good. Would you accept that? Killing an infant. Church does not allow that. Which church allows? Your church. Don't please misunderstand. That's what I'm trying to say to you. Direct abortion is absolutely forbidden. Yes. So in such a situation, you understand, we reach a place. I should have discussed with you the issues before I took up this case, but I just wanted to put it right at the beginning so that you can think about it as we move along. You'll understand. See, there is a line between right and wrong. All right. This is the line. Right and wrong. Now, Savita stands at this juncture. All right, this is right, this is wrong. People face this kind of situation. All right. So she is pregnant. In order to save her life, she must directly attack this baby. In other words, the child has to be extracted. Otherwise, both of them would die. You understand? So she has to do this wrong in order to save a value, the value of her life. All right. So the Catholic Church comes along and says there are situations in which we face this type of line where we may never ever transgress this. Martyrdom is another situation. Brother suicide. All right. If you are asked this question, your life or your faith, what will you choose? What will you choose, brother? Your life or your faith? You are going to be a priest now. There may be a persecution. Somebody says, renounce Jesus Christ, accept Ram in Hindu Raj. What did he say? A little difficult now. You are hesitating. But why? It's a very easy choice. You can renounce faith and save your life, man. Life is important. Faith we can gather afterwards, isn't it? So you can say, I abandon, please let me go. That's what you would say. Will you or will you not? So, when Savita came to the hospital, she was in such a situation. And the hospital was faced with the same choice. In order to achieve some good, can we do wrong, this wrong, killing of this infant? And according to Catholic teaching, the hospital said, no, we can never ever perform a direct abortion. Killing of this infant in order to save the mother. We are at such a situation. We will never do wrong in order to bring about some good. That's what they said. All right. So in the process, of course, both died. In this case, if you choose faith, for example, you will die. You will die. Definitely you will lose your life. What will you choose, brother? In this case, life, renunciation of faith. So you see, this is what the Catholic position by and large is. There's a line between right and wrong. We will never transgress that line. That's a line set by God, not by us, not by any authority. It's set by God. That's what I'm saying. Church says we are helpless. We can rely on God and His help. If both die, we accept. If somehow, by a miracle, both of them are saved, thanks be to God. That's what we will say. But we will never kill this baby in order to save the mother. A lot of opinions in this, even among Catholic circles. People say, but I will tell you, in case the husband makes a choice and he goes to another hospital where they perform abortions, he's a Catholic. We say he's still doing wrong, although he is not totally responsible. He's pressurized. He's not blameworthy. Do you understand? You can excuse him for making that decision because he's in a complicated situation, but he's doing wrong. If you choose not to do wrong, then of course you have to face. If you choose not to do wrong, not to abandon your faith, you must face the consequence of loss of your life. Yes or no? They'll kill you. So can you compromise here? This is what the husband will repent and come back to faith. I told you. Yes, but every time he did not do that. When he was strengthened in the faith, he died for Christ. So you can come back once in a lifetime, is it? That's another issue. That's another question about conversion, failure of individuals. Our question is, what should be our choice? So it's a little problematic. It's about right and wrong. It's not about whether a man is excused or not excused, whether he is blameworthy or not blameworthy. That is regarding another question. Please don't mix up. The fact that you are not blameworthy doesn't mean that you did not do wrong. You may do serious wrong, but you may not be blameworthy.
If the judge is not allowing, then it should not condemn also. No?
She is not condemning anybody. She always treats people with compassion. Those who commit an abortion and comes back, church always treats them with compassion. She wants to declare to the world that abortion is a serious crime, and therefore she attaches a penalty in Canon 1398, a direct abortion. Anyone who procures direct abortion is late sententia excommunicated, automatically excommunicated. But she has always welcomed back a person who has committed an abortion. Those who come in repentance, she has always. But that doesn't mean now abortion is right. It's one question whether a person is excused, whether he is blameworthy, excusable. It's another question whether he is doing wrong. You don't see the distinction? You go up to the terrace and there's a big boulder and you throw it down. And there I was going by, so it falls on my head. You didn't even look down. And the stone fell on my head. Your moral theology professor is dead. All right. Yeah. And you go about later on, they discover the body. Yeah, the fellow is dead. And they report to the police, an inquiry happens, and then who threw the stone? Suicide. All right, yeah. Did you do some wrong or not? Did you do a wrong? But did you do wrong?
Yes.
That's the question. See, you are not blameworthy. You are not blameworthy because you are not aware. You didn't have knowledge. You should have looked before throwing it. You should have. That's his responsibility before throwing, because this is an area which is populated. All right. So before throwing something down, you should have looked, but you didn't. That much you can blame you for that. You should have been more careful. You have not. But you never, what we call, deliberately did that wrong. You did it in ignorance, you could say. All right. So you are excusable, but the wrong remains wrong. A man was killed, and that happened to be a moral theology lecturer who troubled you in the classroom, and it comes as a great relief for you, right?
Then in this case, the hospital also has done wrong now. The hospital's name is to save one life.
But not by doing wrong. Romans 3:8 tells us we may never do wrong that good may come about.
Then why can't we apply the problem lesser evil in that?
This is where, there are, in some issues, we can apply the lesser evil principle. That's what proportionalism is about. That's an argument that people are making today, that the Catholic Church's position is unreasonable. We must employ more reasonable position, etc. But I am trying to point out to you that there is, a rationale behind what the church is saying. That's all I want you to see, whether you accept it's in practice, you carry this out, etc. This is, everyone's choice in the end. You have to make your own choices. If he is faced with this situation of whether to give up life or, confess Jesus Christ, who can command you to do this? Nobody can command you to say, be faithful. They can exhort you. They can encourage you. You're a priest. Please stand for your faith. You're a sign for other people. If you give up, others will be weakened as well. So people can exhort him, motivate him. But in the end, he makes a choice to say, renounce Christ or, lose his life. It's a choice you have to make. So we all have to make choices. We reach a stage in life where, we come to this line between right and wrong. The Catholic Church's position is no matter what is at stake, no matter what, we will not cross this line to do wrong that good may come about. That's a position the Catholic Church takes. So in this case, it's tragic. It's tragic that both lives were lost, all right? But one thing, we did not do wrong. We did not deliberately do wrong. We didn't transgress. So we can stand by this principle all the time, all right? But once you get over this, once you say you can kill a life in order to save another, you can kill a life for anything. Why not? Brother, there's a little baby who will anyway die. Let's say anencephalic, brainless child born, but it has a good heart. It may not live long. There is a young man, great possibilities. He needs a heart transplantation. Can we kill this baby, take this heart and save him? By your principle, we should do this. We can do, because anyway this is going to die. It's a matter of time. Maybe 1 day, 2 days, this child would be dead. Why not take out his heart and save this man? If we wait, both will die. So this is a problem. Once you get across this line of doing wrong in order to bring about good, right? Or you go into a slippery slope. Yes.
In this case, the position of the Catholic Church looks like it to save the life of one person in the life of another person.
Pardon?
So in the case, in order to save the life of a person, we can kill the life of other, because there was all possibility to save the life of Savita, and you went on keeping her like that, and then in some way, in order to save the life of the child, you were killing the Savita.
We can save this life only by attacking an innocent life. If there is another way, please do. What we are saying is, we will not save this person's life by attacking another life, innocent life.
They need to be righteous people who like.
Pardon?
We don't do any wrong, we say. That's why they will do like.
That we confess. This is a stage where we are helpless. We are helpless. We reach the limits of our existence, are making choices, etc. Whereas modern, tendencies tell us, no, that's not true. We have the technology. We have the technology to save this woman. So let us hasten and do it. We have the technology to do a lot of things. All right. Lot of things, which may have recourse to wrong means in order to achieve good ends, etc. You will study this in the course of different courses, bioethics, etc. We have enormous amounts of possibilities now, by using little doubtful means to bring about huge amount of good for people. Yeah, we can do that. And all that would be permissible once we transgress this line between right and wrong. That is to say, you transgress this line to do something wrong directly in order to bring about some good. Do you understand?
Okay, again, this
Yes.
extreme position regarding the
It is an extreme position.
it is taken, I think, only by the Catholic Church.
It is.
This in some way makes
Yeah.
us to believe that this objectivity that is given to this abortion
Yeah.
is actually proposed by Catholic Church. There is no objectivity for this particular action.
Is
There
it
something
true?
like that.
Is it true? Is it the mind of the Catholic Church that has made this up, or is it a thing out there? In this case, is it that we are making up? Catholic Church is imagining that we are attacking this infant so that we can save. Is it just an imagination or real that you are attacking? You are putting a knife to the throat of this child in order to extract this. What do you think? This is only imagined or real?
Because the church has got certain teachings, and based on that, it formulates certain rules and regulations.
Brother,
So it,
no, is it simply the teaching, imaginary teaching of the church, or is it reality? Savita is before us. She is dying. There's a baby in her room. We are asked to put a knife to the baby's life in order to save the woman. Is it something that doctrines make up here? Or is it that we are really killing a baby in order to save a person, another person? What do you think?
the equal value for at that point of time,
Yes.
the equal value for the life of the mother and the child, who will obviously be dead. The same value is given by the church.
That's right.
The civil society will never give the equal value. That means the church is making up such a stand.
That's a difference of opinion. What you're saying is a human being in whatever form, right from the first moment of conception, all right, has to be respected as you would respect any human life.
That is the position of the church.
That's right. That's what you're saying. That's right.
So how can we take it as objective? So
But is there human life or not? Would you accept there is human life? Do you say there are degrees of human life, or there is one human life?
position of church only one.
No, from the civil societies, are there degrees of human life?
No.
So in other words, in one case you can take away this life, and in another case, after 2 months or 3 months, all right. Nowadays, now I think they have modified to 6 months or something, all right. Yeah, 1979 we had the Medical Pregnancy Act here in India. They said up to 3 months. Before 3 months, you can have an abortion. I think it's 3 months. Just mistake. I could be corrected on that. You know, I think, or 2 months or 3 months. I forget. After that, you need a second medical opinion in order to allow abortion. After that prescribed period, I have to check up on that. I mean the time, I think it's up to 2 months or 3 months. I have a doubt now. Yeah. So anyway, you can go in for an abortion up to 3 months. A woman could walk into a registered doctor's clinic and ask for an abortion, and he would be obliged to give this. So they obviously say up to 3 months, you know, this not to be respected as we should respect a human life. It doesn't have the protection of the civil law until it reaches that period prescribed by this act. Once it crosses that period, then the law gives protection. If you kill after that, it will be called homicide or whatever. Do you understand?
Before that, it is not called a homicide. In that case,
yes,
maybe the civil society is considering, I change my position. So the civil society may be saying that the life of a
infant, it's not as much of value in the early stage as of value later on. That's what the civil society is saying. Yeah. So A Catholic position is very clear, all right, that this is God's work. Right from the first moment of conception, there is human life. Finito. There are no grades here. Life is life. Later on, it grows up, of course. It develops into a human person and, grows up. When you were a baby, brother, did you have little less human dignity? You are not capable of all that you are doing today. You can sit here and discuss theology with me. When you were 1 year old, for example, yeah, as you are struggling to walk, talk, did you have less dignity or something that you could be disposed of? What do you think?
If I speak from the position of the church, I will say that I had.
No. From the point of view of civil society, would you dispose of a 6-month-old baby? When compared to a grown-up man? Or when you come to an old man? That's a position we are taking, that we can now kill older people. With their consent, euthanasia we call it. We can kill them. Dispose them off. Yeah, please. Oh, sorry. Irrational? Don't worry, ask all questions. Yes.
After a marriage, we have to decide. It is God who gives a child. So without union in the sex, give us a child. Will God be able to give that child to the couple?
What do you mean? Why would you put that question? All right. The Catholic position never says that God gives us child. If you read Gaudium et Spes, 50, maybe 50 or 51, in that paragraph you will read, there's a discussion on responsible parenthood. All right. Now, responsible parenthood would mean that a couple do those actions to bring about children they can responsibly take care of in this world. They should not bring more children saying this is God's gift given to us. Do you understand? God doesn't give gift that way. He gives us gift only through our cooperation. And a couple must cooperate with God in order to bring about this baby. All right. Are you saying when two people cannot sit apart and pray to God, please, give us a baby, give us a baby. In other words, without sexual intercourse, they are asking for a baby. A baby won't fall from heaven. This is like asking, keeping your plate upside down and saying, God, fill my plate, fill my plate. Yes. All right, go ahead.
So we have cooperation from our part.
Right.
So in the same way, can we have a cooperation in order to save our life, to kill the child, not to kill the child, in order to save our life at least, to use our food.
See the whole question of cooperation. We can cooperate in so many things. If a husband and a wife don't get a baby, all right, they can have a cooperation of another woman to have a baby for the husband could join himself to another woman, have a baby, adopt that baby. Is that permissible? What do you think? If you speak about cooperation, without control, cooperation. You see, anything that we do has to be regulated on the basis of what is right and what is wrong. And what I am arguing here is right and wrong depends upon the objective reality. All right. Objective reality. So you are speaking about cooperation. All right.
My conclusion was this way.
Yeah. So I understood your conclusion. The beginning of life, we need God's cooperation. And therefore, at the end of life also, we can cooperate. But my argument was, what type of cooperation we are giving? Killing a person? To cooperate by killing a person? Killing a human being, you save another? Is that the cooperation you are calling for? And you would say, this is what God would require of us? What do you think, brother?
When two lives are lost, at least
Yes.
one we can use our prudence, we can say no, brother.
It is common sense, it's prudence, it's all that. I agree with you as you stand facing this crowd which is challenging you, either Jesus Christ or your life. What is prudent thing to do, brother?
Father, it is
Say.
just a situation like if somebody is met with an accident, two
Yeah.
people are there.
Yes.
Both are dying.
Yes.
And if we save one person, we are unable to take him to the main road. Only I am there. I am
Yes.
unable to take both of them.
Yes.
So thinking that if I take only one, I may cause another death. Leaving because of that, I leave both of them and leave them to die. It is.
I think it's not the same, because see, the life of one does not come through the death of another. Do you understand? See, the issue is saving the life of one does not come through the death of another. In this case, the saving of Savita would come through the death of the baby. There's a difference. I mean, you can place all kinds of cases, but cases of this type you present, then you will see the problem the Catholic Church faces and the conclusion that she arrives at. If taking of a one man to the road will cause the death of another person, I would say the same. Please don't. You have to wait, because we have reached that line between right and wrong, which we should not transgress. But taking a person to the road, it is not that action which causes the death of this individual. His death comes not through saving of that person, or rather his saving does not come through the death of this person. You understand? There's a difference, isn't it? Fine enough, if you can see that. Yes.
So you proposed this one as the objective reality, no?
Yes, I do.
What is your argument for proving that it is the objective reality? Because, for example,
See,
if we say that
I am placing it in the context of a pregnant woman. All right. Both are life. Both are important to me. Both are God's gift. And he has said, do not kill. I am faced with this situation. What am I to do in this case where to save one, I must kill another? Must I keep God's commandment, do not kill? Or can I interpret that love in such a way that I can do away with this infant? All right. Yeah. Pardon? So it's a, pardon me?
Laws are made for man and man not for the laws. So we can apply that.
In some instances it is true. In some instances it is true. All right. But in not all instances you can apply this. There are laws, which you cannot transgress, which once you interpret this way, all right, once you interpret, you make that principle absolutely relative. All right. What you are saying in some instances, like when a person is starving, he may take another's bread. But there is a wider principle that God has given this creation for everybody. And it is that right which enables this person to take what belongs to you. Do you understand? Much before you got this property, God has given this creation, because none of us have made a grain of sand or something in this world. All of us have received. And you have put a compound wall around you, and you have said, this is mine, whereas I am left with nothing. That gift that he gave me too is in some sense taken away from me because of circumstances in which I was born, etc. So when I am hungry, I take something. It would be wrong for me to steal, generally speaking. But when I am hungry, I may take something. In such kind of instances, surely you can say laws are made for man and not man for law. But when you come to, this type of situation where two lives are involved, all right, can we say this law, do not kill, is made for us? That we can kill one in order to save another? Yeah. We can flex these rules. So these are problems because there are objective situations, in which the very object calls you to, to respect it and never violate it. Yeah. I think that's a fundamental law. If you violate that, then I think you get into a very complicated situation. You take up an ethical position which will take you to all kinds of evils. Yeah. Our society is today suffering from that.
In the case if the man performs abortion and Savita's husband,
Yeah.
he is held responsible.
No, he is not held responsible. He is doing wrong. You understand? There are so many other factors that his anguish of losing his wife.
Can we make it so objectivity that in that case nothing should be done, let both be died? That should be the objectivity.
It is up to the husband to make that choice. It is up to the, it is up to the husband. Pardon? The choice is to be made by a man. We place before him, the Catholic Church places before a person.
Then that should be objective.
That's right. Objectively, she is placing before this person a choice. You know, she's saying it is never right to do. It is never proper for us to do wrong in order to bring about right, in order to bring about a good.
If it is objective, will the church will keep it till the end of time the same principle?
This is what she's doing. Despite she being, she's the only voice today in today's society which stands for this type of position. She's the only organization, as it were, universally, with a univocal voice. She has been holding to this natural law theory. All right. And she's saying in most issues, she differs from the culture of our time. Yes, she does. And she has modified a lot of things. Pardon? But there are some areas where the church has stood, with exceptions, etc. She has made a lot of accommodation to, include these problems that you are raising. I will point out to you. But at the same time, she has stood by some basic principle that there are some values which are inviolable. No matter what, she has stood by that. All right. So these are the issues that we would be trying to clarify. Yes, brother. He has been raising his hand there. Yes. Yeah, that's right. See, when death can be established on the part of a person, and today, by the use of technology, we can establish that when there is complete cessation of brain activity, all right, including the electric activity in the stem of the brain, you say a person's brain is dead. So brain death is taken as the moment of death, because death is not one event. Death is a process. There is biological death. There is clinical death. There is, I suppose, there's one more stage we speak about. There is cellular death. Even after a person dies, his hair starts growing. If you keep a corpse, all right, you shave him, and after 2-3 days, you'll see hair still grows. Is he dead or not? So death is a process, all right. But there is a moment in which we say this person is irrecoverably dead, when brain is dead. So even brain is totally dead. In other words, there is no more electric activity in the brain. We say the person is dead and his heart may be transplanted. Yes. That's right.
So in this case, also it was a brain death, also some people can come back to life. You can believe that God can make a miracle.
You may believe this. You may believe this, but we, for the sake of, making a moral decision, we need some ground. All right. And so when a person's brain is totally, we are not speaking about coma. When a person is in coma, his brain activity is there still, at least in some measure. He may come back, but when brain is fully dead, there's no recovery. Just like unless Jesus comes along and raises a man from the dead or something. All right. He's gone. He's finished. There's no possibility of he coming back. Even scientifically, I think that's true. So we can determine that he's dead. Yes. Heart transplantation, when there is death, when it is morally certain that a person is totally dead, we can transplant any organ, including his heart. Yes. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Yeah, let us proceed with this course. Yeah, Savio, any problem?
He is morally down.
area where we need another 45 lectures to discuss all the, but whether you accept or not is another issue. As ministers of the church, you are expected to teach what the church teaches, all right. But I wish you to see the rationale. Please, there is a common sense behind what the church is saying. Pardon?
Clarification.
Yeah.
Now, what does the church say about abortion? So that is there is some principle for that where we can kill a child, disengages mother's life. That's something I'm not very much aware about. That what is the standard?
That's not direct abortion. Direct abortion is never ever permissible. All right. Indirect abortion may be allowed. All right. I will explain it to you as we go along. I'll make there's a section where I'm dealing with direct and indirect. So it's very important to understand the church's position that she never ever allows direct doing of wrong in order to bring about good. She follows that scriptural injunction in Romans 3:8, etc. We may never do evil in order to bring about good. Basically, that's a position she takes. Not only about abortion, it's a lot of other things. All right. So church has been criticized by a progressive world by and large because she seems to be the only conservative voice. But I think her voice is tugging at the consciences of people as well. All right. We have reached a stage where, we are traveling a slippery slope in the sense, if you feel like having sex with a male, you're a man, you can go and get married, you can live together and create a family, etc. All right. This is the right thing to do today for people. Yeah. This LGBT community speaks the loudest in the media, and the media plays drum for them. Yeah. These are people, weird people. It's wrong for me to say that in public that they are weird, but there's something wrong in their orientation, sexual orientation. And they say we are normal, and you have to accept us to be normal. All right. A disorientation has been made into normality. All right. It's right for us to kill our babies. It is right for us to kill old people. It is right for us to cast off our partners. All right. Yeah. We can live together with commitment. We can, when we feel love for one another, we live, we make babies, and then when love fades, or feeling of love fades, we leave one another. What happens to these babies? All this is normal thing today. All right. Are these things the right thing to do? That's the question the Catholic Church is raising, basically. Yeah, Brother Savio, speak. He's worried about brain death now. Yeah, speak. Or heart transplant.
If, for example, a girl is pregnant, and in the nature there are some items. When we conceive, that the child becomes abortion. So in that case, the judge will if the abortion is in the mortal sin. So in that case, that the lady unknowingly and the child is
Aborted. Yes.
So in that case, what is the position of judge? Whether it is
Does she commit abortion, brother? That's a question. Does she commit abortion? Does she intend? She knows she is pregnant. She knows, and she is eating these things in order to expel the baby. Unknowingly yet. What do you mean unknowingly yet? She was just eating food, and this went along with this one. And so she is not responsible for what she is doing. All right. She is not deliberately performing an abortion. All right. The abortion is a result of something that happened. All right. Accidentally. Yeah. That's where I'm asking, is she performing an abortion? Is she eating this in order to abort her baby? Then why do you hold her responsible for what happened? All right. This is an event that happened, unfortunately. This is not an evil, that occurs because of something deliberately done by someone. There is no moral action involved here. You understand? Yeah. There's no moral action. Therefore, we don't have to decide on that, whether this is moral or that immoral, etc. Because there is no moral action. She was eating food and natural ingestion of some poison. All right. Yeah. So the same thing happened. Suppose when you eat, did you commit suicide? Unfortunately, you died. All right. What to do? In the same way, this is an unfortunate event, brother. There is no moral action here. You understand? Moral action comes only when people do an action with knowledge and with deliberation, with choice. So if the woman knows that she is pregnant and she is taking some herbs or herbal formula or whatever in order to, get rid of this baby in her womb, she is performing an abortion. And church's position is very clear. This is wrong. Right? Yeah. 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 Yeah, that's right. But we will not consider that he killed. Even if he deliberately killed, probably he wants to kill his moral theology professor. All right. But even if he, deliberate, even if he didn't look around and be cautious, etc., you can hold him responsible for not being careful, but not for the act of killing. You understand? Yeah, she has to be careful. Yeah, she has to be careful. You can hold her responsible for, not being careful what she ate when she was pregnant. All right. Agreed. I agree with you. But she didn't abort a baby. All right. It's the same like him. You can hold him responsible for not being careful, but don't hold him responsible for killing a man. He didn't. Police will arrest him, and he would be charged with manslaughter and not homicide, not murder. Remember, he will not be charged with that murder. He will be charged with manslaughter or homicide or whatever. They have degrees of homicide, etc. All right. He will not be called a murderer. All right. Yes. Pardon? From the circumstantial, there may have been other people. If we cannot prove that he did not intend this, he just casually threw this down. If we cannot prove, they'll put him in prison, life sentence. They'll give him. They'll call. If my advocate argues that he killed deliberately, he had an argument in the moral theology classroom. He went up to the terrace and he threw the stone on. All right. If the lawyer were to prove that, the judge would give him a lifetime. Deliberate killing, murder, that would be called. Do you understand? Yeah. Pardon? All right. So, gentlemen, let us proceed. I was saying there, these are the things that we are going to do in this section. All right. This and the following section. First of all, two insights from two philosophers. Martin Heidegger, as I was saying yesterday, described man as the sign. Being there. Man is always a located being. Located being. So, the insight that he gives us is that when we discuss the morality of the human person, we must not only look at the inner processes, that is to say, knowledge, freedom, these things that work within the human person, you must also look at the objective reality in which a person is located. His morality cannot be thought of without this consideration for his being as a located being. He is objectively situated somewhere. A person cannot be nowhere. He is in space, he is in time. And so that space and time that weave around a human person, or he is woven into space and time, and this reality has to be taken into account when we consider morality. That is to say, the objective dimensions of man's existence must be taken into consideration when we talk of morality. That's the insight we get from that definition of Martin Heidegger, man as the sign. There is another philosopher, Dietrich von Hildebrand. Von Hildebrand. V-O-N, von Hildebrand. He tells us something similar, but from different angle. He says, to be human is to be finding things to be important, more important, or less important. So this is something special to us, according to him. To be human is to be finding things to be important, or more important, or less important. Some things are important. So he's saying, to be human is equal to find the things as important. So some things we find important because they give us pleasure, they please us. They please us. They please us. Ice cream gives us pleasure. And so we consider ice cream more important than bitter gourd, maybe. I don't know, it depends on you. Some people prefer bitter gourd to ice cream, etc. Of course, when you reach a stage in life with diabetes, you are compelled to choose bitter gourd to ice cream. All right, that's another aspect. So some things we find it to be important because we like them. They please us. Some things we consider important because they are useful. They are useful. They may not give us pleasure, but they are useful. You are sitting in the moral theology classroom not because it gives you pleasure or something. I hope it does. If it delights you to learn truth, which is a very rare instance in our country. The students take a delight in discovering truth or something. All right. You develop that taste, Brother Michael? There is no boring moment in life. All right. Life is always exciting, discovering new things all the time in your life. Every moment is a moment of discovery for you. Discovery of perception, understanding, and expression. When you search for truth, and truth becomes, the daily quest in your personal life. But this is not something that you are excited, Kranti, about, isn't it? Truth is not something that excites you, does it? Anyway, so they are useful to us. And so we find them to be important. For example, sometimes they may be painful. Visit to a dentist. Visit to a dentist is not something that you like or gives you pleasure or something, unless the dentist is a lovely woman or whatever. But what she does is not something that you would like. All right. But still, we find these things to be important because they are useful for us. All right. And still there are other things which are important because they are important in themselves. Important in themselves. And these we call values, things which are important in themselves. Values. We use words like truth, honesty, justice, chastity, chastity. They are important because they have an importance of their own. Truth, speaking truth, for example, may be very inconvenient to you, but still you would say speaking truth is important. Yeah. You may not always speak the truth. That's another issue. All right. But you can never bring your mind to say sometimes truth is not important or chastity is not important. So these things are things which are important in themselves, and they are called values. Values. And there are different types of values. There are intellectual values of science, knowledge, wisdom, etc., intuition. And there are aesthetic values. All right. Order, neatness, arrangement, yeah. Punctuality, yeah. Cultured behavior, polished behavior. All these are somewhat aesthetic values. All right. And there are, of course, moral values. Of all these, moral values are the most important. Hildebrand points out. All right. See, if a person lacks in intellectual values, you would call him a poor scholar. Even if you are not able to study well, your teachers will say he is a poor student. All right. If a teacher comes to teach and he doesn't teach well, you say he is a poor teacher. He's not a good teacher, you would say. All right. In other words, he is lacking in some of these intellectual values. Right. Poor scholar, you would say, or a student or teacher, however. If someone lacks in aesthetic values, someone comes with disheveled hair and unclean clothes, etc., you can smell him from a furlong away. So you would say this person is uncultured, you would say. Uncultured person, you might say. But when a person lacks in these type of values, these are moral values I put down here. When a person lacks, then you would actually say he is a poor person. You would say he is a bad person, you would say. It corrupts the very personhood. The absence of these or the violation of these moral truths corrupts the personhood itself. In other cases, of course, some of his qualities are corrupt or disoriented or distorted. Here, he himself is distorted, warped, twisted. And that's why we say, of all the values, moral values are the most important. So, both these insights tell us that independent of us, there is a world out there. The world does not depend on our intentions. The world is out there in which we, using our reason, discover some things to be right, other things to be wrong. Yeah. That's where I think we are disagreeing in right and wrong discovery, how we use the reason and go about, etc. All right. Now, in order to emphasize this objective dimension of morality, in Catholic perception, If you don't base morality on an objective plane, you move to situation ethics. Morality, a foundation of morality. Either it is placed in an objective ground, objective foundation. If you don't place it on an objective foundation, you move to situation ethics. That is to say, according to the situation, you use your common sense and you decide. We don't have to worry too much about principles. As Brother Susai Raj said, rules are made for us. We can change them according to our convenience. Yeah. Now, somebody can change the rule against you, Brother Susai Raj. Yeah. If I am more powerful than you, I can use, that rule, Sabbath is made for me and not for you. Right? I can flex the rules against you to my advantage. What will you do about that? You have nothing to say because you yourself agree. You yourself agree it's all right for us to flex the rules when we meet a difficult situation. We can, in this case of Savita, you're saying we can flex the rule, do not kill, in order to save this woman by killing the baby. That's what you're saying. It's allowed, we are saying. And the same flexing of that rule may be against you tomorrow. And then you have nothing to say because you accept that principle. Yeah, Arun? Pardon?
Jesus did no other.
Jesus did what?
He said, he gave the path and
He did. But Jesus also in the Garden of Gethsemane, he said, yeah.
Bringing so many situations and wanting to one rule, it will be difficult to understand.
Which one?
Means talking about one rule and bringing so many situations will make us confused about it.
Is it? So let us talk about one situation now. All right. So would you say eating, some food in the field is the same as killing a life? Would you say they both are of equal value? Would you say they are of equal value? In other words, the same principles that apply to eating and drinking must be applied to killing and saving.
Yes, for in this situation, what you are saying, it's like we are trying to save ourselves by eating the grains in the field. But here,
True.
They are not doing for their own selfishness or.
True. But supposing in order to save, listen, same situation, because you are taking one situation, Savita's situation, and placing it in the grain field. You understand that what you are doing is the same. You are using other situations, in order to confuse the situation. I am also doing the same thing. I am telling you, they plucked ears of grain and ate in order to save themselves. But suppose it comes to breaking the neck of other people in order to save ourselves. Would Jesus be saying it is all right for us to flex the rule, do not kill? It is made for us and therefore we can change it. We are hungry and therefore we break the neck of other people in order to save ourselves, in order to satisfy our hunger.
No, the situation differs. Now it's about hunger and now it's about life.
The problem, no, it's about hunger. I am hungry. Yes. A poor man starving, all right, he can satisfy himself only by killing another person. We said he can steal bread from another's kitchen. Can he kill another person in order to satisfy his hunger?
No, plucking a grain of this one is not equivalent to the killing a person.
Then why do you bring that when I am speaking about Savita? Why do you bringing about the Sabbath rule when I am speaking of Savita, which is about killing?
here Samhitasana will, there are two lives are uncreated.
Two lives, yes.
In the one body itself.
One body, that's right.
Okay. And
Yes.
if you kill one, another is going to be also, however, both are going to die.
That's right.
The Catholic teaching says it's wrong, and I accept it's wrong.
Yeah, that's
From
right.
Catholic point of view, and it depends on the husband to decide whatever he likes. Okay, maybe later on he can repent on that. That I don't bother because my teaching is to teach them it's wrong. So I can teach them it's wrong.
That's right. That's all you are supposed to do. That's what we are saying here. I am trying to convince people who raise questions. He said, in this case, we can kill the baby. This is a general opinion in the world. Some Catholic theologians would accept that as well. All right. That we can kill the baby in order to save the mother. So I am trying to point out the Catholic position. The church is saying there is an objective line between right and wrong. No matter what situation we may face, we may never transgress that line. Sometimes we have to give up our life. I place the question of martyrdom. A martyr is saying, I have reached this stage, this line. Now, up to now, I could have done something to accommodate, made my faith accommodate you, etc., for your demands. Now you are asking whether I should give up my life in order to confess my faith in Jesus Christ. I would say, yes, I would do that. Please kill me. Yeah. I will not renounce my faith. So this is the stage where that hospital faced. Savita came to the hospital's door and she asked for an abortion. The hospital authority said, God has said, do not kill. We cannot kill this baby in order to save this woman. Sorry, we are helpless. We prayed to God for both of you. All right, that's what they said. Just like a martyr. You understand, brother? That's all we are saying. That's all what the Catholic Church is teaching.
One comment.
Yes.
That since Jesus was a man, the disciples were man, the church also were man. So it is always that abortion thing comes on the women. It is never in man. And it's both of them, they cooperate, they have
Yes.
relationship and child comes. And the thread comes between the mother and the child.
Yes.
It's never on a man. So it is always they are thinking that is not equally available for man. Because
Yes.
if it is threatening the life of man, they don't consider something other else. Means like it is a comment from the women point of view.
Yes, women do make those comments. For feminists, abortion is a question of feminine choice and freedom, etc. What they experience as freedom is freedom to do with their body what they choose. So when a woman likes a pregnancy, child is welcome. And she doesn't want, she may do away with it. All right. That is their position. All right. We don't judge their position or something. All that we are saying is, from our angle, that type of position is wrong. All right. Yeah. We are saying that this is not something that is acceptable to us, because from the first moment of conception, there is another human life, independent of this. Even genetic science supports that, because genetically, the newly conceived baby is different from the genetic makeup of the woman. It's a difference. It's another being altogether. It may contain some of the genetic elements of the mother, but it is altogether different from the genetic makeup of the father or the mother or something. A new being has come to be. That's what we are saying. All right. And that has to be respected. Right. Now, unfortunately, brother, in a sexual intercourse, the man does not get pregnant. He does not, what to do about this now? Woman, however she wishes that the man gets pregnant, and however man wishes he gets pregnant, this does not take place. Now, you are quarreling with nature, brother. I agree.
Because it doesn't come on man only. You cannot decide that. You cannot deny that it's come on man, on woman.
That's right. So therefore,
if it is possible to take on man, to give
therefore, the argument should be the argument should be not after pregnancy, what man does or what he conceives. The man should be held responsible for causing the pregnancy. Yeah. A pregnancy which a woman does not want. You understand? A man should be held responsible for that. Hold him responsible. A woman should hold him responsible for that.
But man is not knowing that after once he gets pregnant, that they both have to be going through.
So, in other words, both of them deliberately choose to have sexual intercourse. And the consequences have to be borne by both, we say. But biologically, it's a woman who bears the consequence, not the man. You can ask him to pay. You can ask him to live with her, support her, etc. This we can do. We always do this. All right. Now, he cannot take pregnancy upon himself. And that is not reason enough to say that this is a rule which is made by man for man's advantage. Chrysostom said this, brother, what you are arguing here. What you meant.
That is their position, I'm just saying.
Agreed. I agree with you. You are aware of that. Already Chrysostom argued. These are rules made by men. He's speaking about the case of an adultery. An adulterous woman is never accepted by a husband, but a wife is expected to accept an adulterous husband. In a famous sermon he gave, he questioned this. He said, how is that? What is allowed for man, you do not allow a woman. These are rules made for man, made by man, and he has made rules for his advantage, etc. That's a long ago argument. 407, Chrysostom died. It was an argument that comes down to us from the 4th century, brother. Yes. So when these feminists argue that these are rules made by men, and it is not a new argument or something. All right. But then, when an act is done, both are responsible. And the woman knows that she has to bear the biological consequences. And therefore, she should have been careful that she didn't place that act. Do you understand? After having, done, knowing that very well, she might even become pregnant. She's quarreling with that I am pregnant and men have made rules, etc. A little unreasonable.
No, life is on threat.
Pardon?
Life is on threat. She has to die because of the child.
She has to. Now what can you...
No man will try to have his children in their life if you take it that way.
True. Yeah. But the natures...
If you have the consequences, father.
Yeah.
If I have sex and all that, then I get pregnant and the child is going to kill me because they are not going to save me because of the church law.
Yeah.
No woman would like to have that.
That's right. But the point is that men do become mothers. All right. Every day they give birth to children. Every childbirth is not leading to mother's death. This is an unfortunate situation. All right. Yeah. And the woman knows, if it's a good Christian woman, she knows there is a risk involved here. All right. In case of conflict, maybe my husband might choose. He's a man of faith. He might choose, not to have an abortion. That might involve death on my part, etc. If she's a God-fearing woman, she says, all right, if it is your will, Lord, as Jesus said in the Garden of Gethsemane, she would also say the same thing as, let your will be done. Yeah. Let us proceed. I was speaking about this insight of these philosophers calling for a consideration of objective aspect of morality. All right. Now, the scholastics. So this is by and large, this is the consideration. Morality has to be based upon an objective plane. Otherwise, we move into the situation ethics. All right. So in order to avoid moving into situation ethics, which will take to all kinds of ethical, I suppose, follies, the church seeks to, or the Catholic position seeks to maintain morality in an objective plane. And already during the scholastic period, they had this concern to make morality not as something created by a society or a religious group, the church or whatever, but morality rests on the objective plane. And therefore, they discussed this theory of natural law. Natural law. We already saw the church fathers talking about natural law. Chrysostom speaking to us, Augustine speaking to us about natural law. This is a little different from law of nature. I have mentioned that. Law of nature, if you remember, nature. Law of nature binds all creatures, animate, inanimate, human beings, everybody is bound by law of nature. This natural law belongs to the world of human beings only. Natural law belongs to the world of human beings. So please note, natural law belongs to an area where reason is in interaction with the objective reality. It is to that dynamics belong natural law. I am highlighting there are two concepts. We can start off with a discussion on, we give God names to highlight certain aspect. We give names to God to highlight certain aspects. We call him Father, we call him Almighty, omniscient. He is omnipotent. He is everywhere. We give all kinds of names to God to highlight different aspects of God. None of these names totally define God. They describe for us one or the other aspect of God's being. So we use this term eternal law. It's a name that is given to God, eternal law, to describe God as the source of all moral obligation. He is the source of moral obligation insofar as he has in his mind a plan for all things. Moral obligations are linked to that plan of God in his mind. And in order to affirm this origin of moral obligation in God, we use this name eternal law. Just like other names, God who is omniscient, almighty, and so on, present everywhere, omnipresent, to describe the different aspects of God. Eternal law is a name that we give to God to describe him as the source of all moral obligation. Eternal law. Eternal law gives rise to natural law. Natural. Just like God creates us, so also this aspect of God as the source of obligation also creates natural law, which is to say that nature contains moral obligations. Nature in itself contains moral obligations. So, eternal law is God as the source of moral obligation. Natural law is moral obligation inherent in creation. In all things, inherent in creation. Once again, I repeat, and that inherent quality or inherent moral obligations. In other words, creation's quality to contain inherent moral obligations come into play only in reference to the human person who can use reason. It's like sound and ear. If there is no ear, is there sound? Is without ear, would there be sound?
For you, they're not there.
No, if there is no ear at all, would there be sound? Let us say in a distant forest in Himalayas now, a tree is falling. There is nobody to hear. Is it making sound?
Doesn't make sense, but that is
I'm asking you whether does it make sound or whatever. Pardon? So this is the question. See, moral obligation and reason are similar reality. You understand? Yeah. So, sound is there, you are saying. There is vibrations there. All right. If you want to speak about apart from ear, if you keep an electronic device or something, all that you can see is some, waves being created. That's what you'll see.
I am saying that waves or electrons or neutrons, it is there. What we have is just to identify it.
But
Yes.
when you use the word sound, all right, you are speaking of a dialogue between that vibration and then human ear or any ear, animal ear as well. That's what you're speaking about. The word sound, you understand, this expression sound, this reality of sound has to do between a connection between ear and this vibration. You understand. Apart from this, there is no sound. You can never solve that question, because if there is no ear to hear a sound, will there be sound?
Berkeley explains now. Idealism of Berkeley, Bishop Berkeley.
Yeah, speak.
He says it is there.
There is
That even if there is no beings around to hear that one, there is God who is.
Actually, God is
So that exists.
God is hearing, but God has no ear, does he? Because he is not a physical being. Yeah. In the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
One correction.
Yes.
Then in
Speak.
Savita's case, he asked, the church gives importance to the life.
No, it's not about life, one life against another life or something.
No,
There's some.
abortion should not be done because the life is in danger. If you abort one,
No, we are speaking about. Oh.